Have you ever felt just utterly swamped by the sheer volume of information? Everything that hits you every single day.
Oh, absolutely. It's relentless.
Or maybe you're wrestling with a really complex decision and you're just wishing you had a clearer way, a more powerful way to cut through all that noise and pinpoint what truly matters.
Hmm.
Well, if that resonates with you, then you are definitely in the perfect place today.
Good.
Today, we are embarking on a deep dive into what we're calling clear thinking tools.
Right.
Now, these aren't just abstract philosophical concepts, okay? Think of them more as actionable mental frameworks, battle-tested strategies, the kind used by top performers, groundbreaking thinkers, innovators, across every imaginable field, really.
These are practical tools.
Exactly. Consider this deep dive, your personal shortcut, if you will, to being genuinely well-informed on how to upgrade your very own cognitive operating system.
I like that framing. Cognitive operating system.
Yeah, and we're not just talking theory here. This is about incredibly practical yet profoundly powerful approaches that will fundamentally help you think more effectively, make sharper decisions, and navigate, let's face it, our increasingly complex world with far greater clarity and confidence.
That's the goal.
Our mission for you is simple: gain profound knowledge quickly, see multiple perspectives that might otherwise stay hidden, and experience those really satisfying aha moments, all without feeling overwhelmed by that relentless tide of information.
And, to expand on that just a bit, if we connect this to the broader landscape of human potential, these tools are truly foundational. They're key for what many people are starting to call augmented intelligence.
Augmented intelligence.
Okay, they don't just solve isolated problems, right? They enhance the very way we interact with reality, how we process it. It's a leap beyond just crunching data or applying, rote logic. It's about shaping your perception, understanding the subtle nuances in any situation, and crucially, fostering genuine emergent innovation.
So it's more than just problem solving.
Much more. They allow us to transcend simple data points and move towards a much more profound, interconnected understanding of the world around us. It's quite fundamental, really.
Exactly. And that's precisely why this deep dive is custom tailored for you. We've meticulously pulled insights from a vast, comprehensive set of sources on these clear thinking tools, synthesizing, decades of wisdom into immediately actionable insights.
Right.
Our core mission, as always, is to extract the most potent nuggets of knowledge, distill those key takeaways, and help you understand what's most important for your own cognitive growth and, dare I say, personal mastery.
That's it.
So, without further ado, let's unpack this. We're going to begin our journey by installing the foundational pillars of clear thinking, the real bedrock upon which all those advanced cognitive abilities are built.
And what's truly fascinating about these foundational tools, I think, is that they aren't some obscure academic concepts, reserved for philosophers or scientists tucked away somewhere.
Right, and not just for the ivory tower.
Not at all. These are the universal mental models that, when you apply them consistently, help you sidestep common cognitive traps and biases. They provide these universal principles for better reasoning, better decision-making that transcend any specific domain.
So useful everywhere.
Everywhere. Whether you're managing a team, deciding on a career path, or even just trying to make sense of the news, they are quite literally the essential building blocks.
Absolutely. Think of them as the essential tools on your mental workbench, right? Ones you'll reach for probably every single day. They're applicable whether you're at work navigating complex projects or building stronger personal relationships or simply trying to make coherent sense of the world. So let's jump right into the very first one. The map is not the territory.
A classic.
It really is. The core concept here is elegantly simple, but profoundly impactful. Any model you hold, any belief system you adhere to, any understanding you possess about the world, it's inherently a simplification.
It has to be.
It has to be, right. It is a representation of reality, a map, but it is definitively not reality itself, the territory.
Crucial distinction.
So the practical application then is to constantly remind yourself not to mistake your internal representation, your carefully constructed mental map for the actual dynamic, ever-changing world out there. This demands that you stay perpetually open to updating your views with new information. But I wonder, how does this specifically help us when we feel utterly certain about something, when our map feels so undeniably right?
That's a crucial point, because the inherent danger of dogma or, intellectual rigidity is precisely mistaking your map for the territory. It's when you become convinced that your current understanding is the absolute, unchangeable
Like
true.
it.
You
I mean,
effectively stop learning, you close yourself off. This tool demands intellectual humility. It's about recognizing that your current perception, no matter how detailed it feels, is just one lens.
hmm?
And it might be flawed, it might be incomplete, or maybe even entirely inaccurate in some ways. It actively encourages you to constantly question your own assumptions, to seek out disconfirming evidence, which is hard, and to remain fundamentally flexible in your thinking. Without this constant recalibration, rigid thinking sets in, and it effectively blinds you to new data. It prevents you from adapting.
It's like trying to navigate a new city with an old map.
Exactly. It's the difference between navigating with a GPS that updates in real time versus one stuck with a 20-year-old road atlas. You're going to hit dead ends.
That makes profound sense. The dynamic nature of reality demands a dynamic map. And this intellectual humility you mentioned, it naturally leads us to question not just our maps, but also the very boundaries of our knowledge, which brings us directly to our next crucial concept, the circle of competence.
Another big one from thinkers like Warren Buffett.
Right. This concept revolves around knowing the precise boundaries of what you truly understand, not what you think you understand or what you wish you understood, but what you genuinely grasp with depth.
That honesty is key.
It really is. The application here is vital. Operate strictly within your areas of expertise and cultivate a genuine, humble awareness about areas that lie outside it. And perhaps most importantly, actively seek to expand that circle through continuous, deliberate learning. But how do we really gauge the limits of our own knowledge? It often feels like we don't know what we don't know, right? That kind of knowledge blind spot.
You've hit on a key challenge there. This touches implicitly on the Dunning-Kruger effect,
Yeah.
where individuals with limited knowledge in a specific domain often dramatically overestimate their own competence. It's a fundamental cognitive blind spot we all have to some degree.
Right. The less you know, the more you think you know.
Pretty much. Therefore, the importance of genuine self-awareness and honest self-assessment here cannot be overstated. It's not merely about knowing a fact, but understanding the depth of your comprehension. Can you explain the underlying mechanisms? Can you teach it effectively? Can you debate it intelligently?
Yeah.
Or do you only grasp the surface-level stuff?
That's a good test.
Yeah. And expanding this circle isn't passive. It means engaging in deliberate learning, actively seeking out foundational knowledge in new areas, and critically, not being afraid to say, I don't know, or that's outside my circle when you're outside your comfort zone. It's an intentional, ongoing process of skill and knowledge acquisition that continually pushes the boundaries of your intellectual comfort zone.
That's a great point about deliberate learning, not just passive consumption. And speaking of foundational knowledge, that leads us seamlessly to first principles thinking.
A favorite of innovators.
Definitely. The core concept here is to break problems down to their most fundamental truths, their absolute bedrock, and then to reason up from there, systematically avoiding all assumptions, analogies, or conventional wisdom.
Stripping it bare.
Exactly. The practical application is to reconstruct solutions from the ground up, entirely from these foundational elements, rather than relying on existing patterns or, inherited ways of thinking. But how is this truly different from just thinking deeply about a problem? What's the unique edge it provides?
The distinction is absolutely crucial, and it's where true innovation often emerges. You see, reasoning by analogy, while useful for quick comparisons and common problem solving, often inadvertently carries implicit assumptions and limitations from the previous context.
Like hidden baggage?
Exactly like hidden baggage. It's like building on an existing structure without ever questioning its foundation. First principles thinking, in contrast, demands that you strip away all those layers of analogy, convention, and received wisdom.
Oh.
It relentlessly asks, what are the irreducible components here? What is fundamentally, undeniably true about this problem, independent of how it's always been done?
Okay.
By uncovering these core components, it liberates you from mental constraints, enabling truly novel and often revolutionary solutions. Think of someone like Elon Musk with SpaceX. He didn't just try to make existing rockets slightly cheaper by analogy.
Right.
He broke space travel down to its fundamental physics, mass, energy, propulsion, the cost of materials. He realized the true cost bottleneck wasn't manufacturing per se, but the fact that rockets were single use. That first principles insight led him to pioneer reusability, completely changing the economics.
That's a fantastic example, stripping away the how it's always been done assumption.
The power of it. It unlocks the seemingly impossible.
I can certainly see how that radical stripping away of assumptions would lead to breakthrough ideas. Now, for something a bit more imaginative, yet incredibly potent, thought experiment.
The Gedanken experiment.
Exactly. The concept here is to imagine hypothetical scenarios, often quite extreme ones, to explore their consequences, gain profound insights, or reveal hidden assumptions that might otherwise go completely unnoticed. The application involves using mental simulation to test ideas, simplify complex issues, or even predict potential outcomes. But I'm curious, how can we ensure our thought experiments are genuinely useful and insightful rather than just, unstructured daydreams?
That's the key differentiator, isn't it? A truly useful thought experiment is far from mere daydreaming. It has clear parameters and specific objectives. It's a structured mental simulation designed to isolate variables, test specific hypotheses under ideal or maybe extreme conditions, or explore logical consequences without the constraints of real-world implementation.
So it's purposeful.
Absolutely purposeful. Think of Einstein imagining himself riding alongside a beam of light. He didn't just passively daydream. He rigorously applied the known laws of physics within that imagined scenario, asking, what would I observe? And that led to revolutionary insights about relativity.
Wow.
These are incredibly powerful tools in science, in philosophy, and strategic planning because they allow you to test complex ideas and their implications without needing real-world constraints or resources. It makes the abstract concrete and can reveal flaws or opportunities before costly real-world errors are made.
Okay, that makes sense. It's structured imagination. Now, that brings us to second-order thinking. This concept is about considering not just the immediate obvious consequences of an action, but also the long-term, indirect, and often unforeseen ripple effects.
Thinking beyond the first step.
Exactly. The application is to ask consistently and relentlessly the question, and then what? Or what happens next, and after that, to anticipate these cascading effects and potential unintended outcomes. Why is it, do you think, that so many people, despite the apparent simplicity of just asking, and then what, consistently miss these ripple effects? It feels like such a natural extension of any decision.
It's a profound challenge. And it seems to be rooted in some fundamental human tendencies. Our brains are often wired for immediate gratification, for short-term thinking. We look for quick fixes and direct causal links.
We like simple cause and effect.
We do. We're prone to what's sometimes called linearity bias, expecting simple actions to have simple, singular outcomes. But in any complex system, be it an ecosystem, an economy, a company, or even a personal relationship, actions have cascading effects. They ripple out. And those effects might not manifest for days, months, or even years.
Right.
Missing these means you might solve one problem today, only to inadvertently create several larger, more entrenched ones down the line. Second-order thinking forces you to look beyond the obvious, to try and map out potential chains of consequences, and to consider how your intervention might alter the entire system, not just the isolated part you're targeting.
It's moving from playing checkers to playing chess.
Or even 3D chess sometimes. It's moving from a single tactical move to a grandmaster's multi-move strategy, anticipating the opponent's responses.
That's a powerful way to frame it, from tactical moves to grand strategy. Next up, we have probabilistic thinking. The concept here is a fundamental shift in mindset, moving away from rigid certainties and embracing the world in terms of likelihoods and uncertainty.
Acknowledging we don't have a crystal ball.
Precisely. The application involves assigning probabilities to outcomes, even if they're just rough estimates, and then making decisions not based on guaranteed results, but on expected value and a clear, robust assessment of risk. Now, is this primarily about trying to predict the future, or is it more about understanding risk in a deeper way?
Oh, it's definitively, emphatically about understanding risk and making robust decisions despite inherent uncertainty, rather than futilely attempting to predict the future with absolute certainty. That's usually a losing game.
Okay.
We inhabit a world that is inherently probabilistic, not deterministic, for most things that matter. Acknowledging uncertainty and trying to quantify it, even roughly, leads to far more resilient and adaptable decisions. Why? Because you consciously prepare for a range of possible outcomes, not just the single desired one you're hoping for.
Right, you build in buffers.
Exactly.
Mm.
And it also crucially involves understanding base rates, the general frequency of a certain event happening in a similar situation. This helps calibrate your expectations and avoid common biases, like focusing too much on individual anecdotes or maybe sensationalized news cases.
So less reacting to the latest story, more looking at the long-term data.
Precisely. It's the difference between just guessing where a single dart will land versus knowing the statistical distribution of thousands of throws. You make better bets understanding the distribution.
It's certainly a significant shift in mindset to move away from that human desire for absolute certainty. Our seventh foundational tool is inversion.
Ah, Charlie Munger's favorite. Invert, always invert.
That's the one. It's truly fascinating because it flips conventional problem solving right on its head. Instead of asking the traditional question, how can I succeed, you invert it and ask, how could I utterly fail? What would guarantee failure? The powerful application is that by systematically identifying what to avoid, what to eliminate, and what could derail your efforts, you actually strengthen your approach and implicitly guard against potential failure, often more effectively than by directly pursuing success itself. This seems counterintuitive, though. Why should we focus so much on failure?
The power here is profound, precisely because it is counterintuitive to our usual forward-looking approach. Often, understanding what not to do or what to avoid can be a clearer, more direct, and less error-prone path to success than solely focusing on the positive outcomes.
How so?
By inverting, you proactively identify potential pitfalls, systemic weak points, and common mistakes that could otherwise derail your efforts, often without you even realizing they were there. It's a form of preventative thinking, almost like debugging your plan before you run it.
Okay, debugging the plan. I like that.
Yeah. This approach, famously employed by great investors like Munger and strategists in various fields, ensures you're not just aiming for a positive outcome, but systematically eliminating the barriers, the vulnerabilities, the potential self-sabotaging actions that might prevent you from ever achieving it. It's about building robustness and anti-fragility into your plans from the very outset by actively trying to break them first, mentally.
That makes perfect sense. It's like an engineer designing a bridge by first figuring out all the ways it could collapse and then building specifically against those failure modes.
Exactly that kind of thinking.
Our eighth tool is Occam's razor, the concept. Simpler explanations are usually better, all else being equal.
That last part is key, all else being equal.
Right. The practical application. When faced with competing hypotheses or explanations, don't multiply assumptions unnecessarily. Prefer solutions or theories that require the fewest leaps of faith or introduce the fewest new entities. But a critical question comes to mind immediately. Does simpler always equate to right? Is the simplest answer always the true one?
Not necessarily. And this is a vital clarification that's often misunderstood. Occam's razor is not a guarantee of absolute truth, nor is it really an endorsement of oversimplification just for simplicity's sake.
Okay.
Rather, it is a guiding principle, a heuristic for methodological parsimony. It's for selecting the most elegant and efficient explanation among competing ones that have similar explanatory power. That's the key.
Similar explanatory power.
Yes. If two explanations account for the same phenomena equally well, the one that relies on fewer unproven assumptions or introduces fewer new, unevidenced entities is generally preferred. Why? Because it's usually more testable, more falsifiable, and often a more robust foundation for further inquiry.
I see.
It's a powerful tool for distinguishing between competing theories, steering you towards more concise, coherent, and ultimately more scientifically rigorous hypotheses, not just raw simplicity. It prunes away explanatory excess, the unnecessary complexity.
Okay, so it's about explanatory power combined with intellectual efficiency, not just being simple. Got it.
Yeah.
Then we have Hanlon's razor.
Another great razor.
It is. The concept here is a wonderfully empathetic and practical piece of wisdom. Don't attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by ignorance, error, or simple clumsiness.
Or incompetence sometimes.
Or incompetence, yes. The application. When something goes wrong or someone makes a mistake that affects you, avoid unnecessary paranoia or immediately jumping to negative conclusions about their intent. Instead, start with the more charitable or simpler explanations first. Why do you think this is often so hard for us to apply in the heat of the moment? We seem quick to assume the worst sometimes.
It's hard because we are fundamentally prone to what psychologists call the fundamental attribution error. We tend to overemphasize dispositional factors like someone's perceived bad character or their malicious intent or inherent laziness and simultaneously underemphasize situational factors.
Like what?
Like them being genuinely ill-informed or having made an honest mistake under pressure or being simply overwhelmed or just not having the right skills for that task. This cognitive bias pushes us almost automatically to jump to the most negative, often conspiratorial conclusions about why someone did something. Hanlon's razor helps counteract this default setting. By assuming ignorance or error first, it fosters empathy, it de-escalates unnecessary conflict, and crucially, it allows for far more productive problem solving. If you assume malice, you engage in a futile blame game.
Right, you get defensive.
Exactly.
Bleh.
But if you assume error, you can focus on education or improving the process or clearer communication. It transforms potential conflict into an opportunity for learning and actual improvement.
That's a truly crucial one for navigating human interactions and just reducing unnecessary friction in life, isn't it?
Absolutely essential for collaboration and relationships.
Finally, for our foundational set, we have the Eisenhower matrix. The concept. A deceptively simple yet really powerful framework for prioritizing tasks and decisions based on two core dimensions: urgency and importance.
Urgent versus important, the classic conflict.
Exactly. The application involves categorizing tasks into four distinct quadrants. Quadrant 1 is important plus urgent to do immediately. Quadrant 2 is important plus not urgent, schedule for later, strategic work. Quadrant 3 is not important plus urgent, delegate if possible. And quadrant 4 is not important plus not urgent, eliminate entirely. Now, how does this tool relate to clear thinking beyond just basic productivity? It seems on the surface like a time management hack.
While it's certainly a phenomenal productivity tool, its profound connection to clear thinking lies in how it forces you to clarify your purpose and ruthlessly manage your attention, which is arguably your most critical, finite cognitive resource.
Attention as a resource.
Yeah.
Okay.
By explicitly categorizing tasks using importance and urgency, you're doing far more than just organizing a to-do list. You're actively making a conscious decision about what genuinely deserves your precious cognitive energy and focus. It acts as a cognitive filter, preventing you from getting bogged down and constantly distracted by tasks that scream for attention. Urgent, but ultimately don't move the needle.
Oh, yeah.
Not important.
The tyranny of the urgent.
Precisely. And what's particularly vital and often tragically overlooked is quadrant 2, important plus not urgent. This is the domain of strategic planning, skill development, relationship building, preventative maintenance, health, deep creative work.
The stuff that really matters long term.
Exactly. Neglecting this quadrant almost guarantees future crises because eventually important but non-urgent tasks become urgent, high-stress fires to put out. So the matrix is really about cultivating proactive, clear thinking, enabling foresight and strategic allocation of attention rather than just reactive task management.
That's a powerful and comprehensive set of foundational mental tools, truly the essential bedrock. Once you've internalized and begun to master these, you're genuinely ready to expand your cognitive toolkit even further. You can move into strategies that help you manage inherent biases more effectively, make even more robust decisions, and really gain a competitive edge. Here's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Precisely. This next set of tools builds directly upon those strong foundations we've just discussed. We're now moving into more specialized areas, designed for refining your beliefs with greater precision, systematically overcoming those inherent cognitive biases we all have, making truly resilient and robust decisions, especially under uncertainty, and abstracting strategically to see the bigger picture, the underlying patterns.
Okay.
These are the models and approaches you deploy when you need to go beyond basic reasoning to gain a significant competitive edge or achieve a deeper, more nuanced understanding of highly complex situations, or perhaps drive truly novel solutions that break from the norm.
All right, let's dive into our first subcategory here, cognitive models. First up is Bayesian updating. The core concept is about continuously revising your beliefs based on new evidence, but in a structured, probabilistic way.
Not just changing your mind randomly.
Right. The application is to remain fundamentally flexible in your understanding, constantly integrating new data as it comes in, allowing your mental models to evolve dynamically. So it's about being open-minded, but with a rigorous, almost scientific method behind it.
You've captured it perfectly. Bayesian updating provides a formal, almost mathematical framework for how rational agents should update their beliefs in the face of new information. Think of it like a meticulous weather forecaster.
Okay.
They start with a general belief about the probability of rain for the day that's their prior belief. Then each new piece of evidence, fresh satellite images, radar scans, local humidity readings, ground reports, systematically shifts that initial belief, making their prediction more precise. That's their posterior belief.
I see, it's iterative.
Exactly. It contrasts sharply with rigid belief systems that resist new evidence, which inevitably leads to ossified, outdated thinking. In rapidly changing or uncertain environments, which is most of the interesting parts of life, being able to fluidly integrate new data rather than stubbornly clinging to outdated assumptions is absolutely crucial for accurate understanding and effective action. It's an iterative process of knowledge acquisition where your understanding becomes progressively more refined and closer to reality with each new relevant piece of evidence. It's disciplined intellectual humility in action.
That feels incredibly relevant for our modern world, doesn't it? Where information is constantly flowing and evolving at breakneck speed.
Couldn't be more relevant.
Next, we have the mental model's latticework, an idea famously championed by the investor and polymath Charlie Munger.
Munger's big idea.
Right.
The concept involves building and consciously utilizing a cross-disciplinary set of foundational models, drawing insights from physics, biology, economics, psychology, history, engineering, and so on. The practical application is to consciously avoid narrow, siloed thinking. Instead, you apply varied perspectives and mental frameworks to every problem you encounter. But for someone just starting out, how do we even begin to build this potentially vast lattice work? It sounds a bit like you need to know a lot about everything, which can feel pretty daunting.
It's not about knowing everything in exhaustive detail, thankfully. It's about understanding the big foundational enduring ideas, the core principles from diverse fields. The richness and robustness that comes from applying diverse perspectives is immense. It's truly where the magic happens.
How so?
Well, by consciously applying principles from, say, ecology to understand a business problem, or using insights from evolutionary biology to analyze human behavior, or even applying concepts from physics like leverage or critical mass to decision-making, you gain insights that someone thinking purely within a single discipline would inevitably miss. Okay, so how do you start?
You start building it by consciously studying the big ideas. Things like economies of scale from economics, feedback loops from systems theory, natural selection from biology, cognitive biases from psychology, maybe thermodynamics from physics. You learn these core concepts from various fields, actively look for connections between them, and then deliberately try to apply those insights to problems outside their original domain.
Looking for those connections.
Yes, looking for isomorphisms, those deep structural similarities or analogous patterns that exist across seemingly unrelated domains. This allows you to transfer powerful insights from one area of knowledge to another. It's like having a multi-tool for your mind, not just a single screwdriver.
I love that idea of spotting isomorphisms, these underlying patterns. And our third cognitive model is falsifiability.
Popper's contribution. Central to science.
Exactly. The concept, as central to scientific thought, dictates that for a claim or hypothesis to be considered truly scientific, it must, in principle, be testable and capable of being proven wrong or falsified. The application is that it acts as a powerful filter, allowing you to quickly discard unfalsifiable ideas or theories and focus your cognitive energy on useful, testable hypotheses. Why is it so profoundly important for a claim to have the potential to be proven wrong? Why is that the benchmark?
Falsifiability is absolutely the demarcation line, the essential criterion, separating genuine science from pseudoscience or untestable dogma. If a claim cannot, even in principle, be proven wrong through observation or experimentation, then it cannot be rigorously tested, period.
And if it can't be tested?
And if it cannot be tested, it cannot provide any true predictive power or genuinely actionable insight. It's a powerful guard against untestable assertions, vague prophecies, conspiracy theories, and frameworks that are so flexible they can explain everything after the fact but predict nothing specific beforehand.
Ugh.
By demanding that a claim be falsifiable, you direct your focus towards empirically verifiable questions, making the knowledge you acquire far more robust, reliable, and capable of actual progress. It forces intellectual discipline and pushes us towards a more rigorous engagement with reality, rather than just accumulating comforting stories.
That's a powerful filter for deciding what genuinely merits our attention and investigation. Now let's transition into bias reduction tools, because let's be honest, our minds are absolutely riddled with biases, often operating completely beneath our conscious awareness.
Oh yes, cognitive biases are the default setting.
Seems like it. First up, the scout mindset. The core concept here is to approach problems and information like a diligent scout, whose ultimate aim is to see the terrain as clearly and accurately as possible, rather than like a soldier whose aim is to defend an existing position or win an argument at all costs.
Scout versus soldier. A great metaphor from Julia Galef.
Right. The application is to consciously replace motivated reasoning, where you twist facts to fit a pre-existing belief with genuine curiosity and a relentless pursuit of truth, whatever that truth might be. What specifically does a scout do differently from, say, a soldier in this compelling analogy? How does it play out?
That's a perfect analogy, and the distinction is paramount for clear thinking. A soldier's mindset is fundamentally about defending their existing beliefs, winning an argument, or proving themselves right. They actively seek confirming evidence, confirmation bias, and instinctively dismiss, rationalize away, or attack anything that contradicts their cherished position. Their identity is often tied to being right.
Okay.
A scout, on the other hand, is driven purely by the desire to understand the truth, to map the territory as accurately as humanly possible, regardless of what they want to be true or what might be comfortable or aligned with their group.
So truth over tribe.
Exactly. They actively seek out all relevant information, even if it's uncomfortable, contradictory, or threatens their existing worldview. The scout mindset fosters profound intellectual honesty, openness to new data, and crucially, a genuine willingness to change one's mind in the face of compelling evidence. This leads to far better outcomes because it ensures you're engaging with reality as it truly is, not as you wish it were, or as you've decided it must be.
That's a truly fantastic contrast and a challenging one to embody consistently, I imagine. Takes real effort.
It absolutely does. Our egos fight against it.
Speaking of confirming our own beliefs, our next tool directly tackles that tendency, the confirmation bias check. The concept here is to actively and deliberately seek to disprove your own ideas, assumptions, and hypotheses.
Playing devil's advocate against yourself.
Precisely. The application is to force yourself to ask the uncomfortable but vital question. What specific evidence or scenario would actually change my mind about this? This sounds incredibly hard to do given our natural human inclinations to, well, be right. Do you have any practical tips for how to truly implement this? How do you fight that urge?
It is incredibly hard, precisely because our brains are naturally wired to seek out and interpret information that confirms what we already believe, and to conveniently filter out or reinterpret disconfirming evidence. It feels good to be right. To counteract this powerful, often unconscious bias, you need to be deliberate and systematic. One practical tip is to actively seek out and engage with opposing viewpoints, not with the goal of debating or refuting them, but with the genuine intent to understand their underlying logic and the evidence they find compelling. Steelman their argument, don't strawman it.
Okay, understand. Don't just rebut.
Right. Another highly effective strategy is to explicitly list specific conditions or data points that, if they turned out to be true, would force you to abandon or significantly revise your current idea or belief. Writing these falsification criteria down makes them concrete and holds you accountable.
Like a personal scientific method.
Exactly. Also, practice what's sometimes called disagreeing and committing in a team context, but apply it to yourself. Truly listen to and consider different internal perspectives or external critiques, even if you ultimately decide not to adopt them, simply to strengthen your own reasoning or identify previously unseen weak spots. The ultimate goal isn't to be right all the time, but to make your beliefs more robust, more accurate, and less brittle in the face of new information and changing reality.
That's incredibly practical advice, especially the what would change my mind exercise. I can see how that forces honesty. And then we have the pre-mortem.
Gary Klein's brilliant technique.
Yes. The concept. Before embarking on a plan or project, you deliberately imagine that it has already catastrophically failed. Then, working backward from that imagined failure, you ask, why did it fail? What went wrong? The application is to proactively reveal hidden risks, unforeseen obstacles, and overlooked vulnerabilities before they actually happen. How is this fundamentally different from just a regular risk assessment, which, most projects do anyway?
A traditional risk assessment often focuses on identifying known risks and estimating their probabilities and impacts. It can sometimes be a bit of a dry checklist exercise, prone to groupthink or glossing over uncomfortable possibilities.
Right.
A pre-mortem, however, is a powerful psychological technique that fundamentally shifts your perspective. By forcing yourself and your team to imagine the failure as an accomplished, undeniable fact. Okay, it's 6 months later the project did fail miserably, now tell me why. It cleverly bypasses the pervasive optimism bias and the reluctance to criticize that often plagues planning processes.
It makes it safe to voice concerns.
Exactly. This imaginative leap encourages a far more honest, critical, and creative identification of flaws, weaknesses, and potential pitfalls, things that might be completely overlooked in a standard assessment where people might be hesitant to sound negative or challenge the plan. It makes those potential failures more concrete and therefore more actionable, allowing you to build robust mitigation strategies before the plan even begins. It's a proactive way to inoculate your plans against unforeseen vulnerabilities, literally preventing future regret by simulating failure upfront.
That makes so much sense. By pretending it's already failed, your brain is forced to think differently, more critically, and uncover those dangerous blind spots. Let's move on to decision-making tools. First, the regret minimization framework, famously articulated and used by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos when he decided to start the company.
The Bezos framework.
Yeah. Right. The core concept. Project yourself far into the future, say, when you're 80 years old, and then ask yourself this crucial question. Looking back on my life, what will I regret not doing? The application is that this framework guides long-term decisions, especially under conditions of profound uncertainty, by prioritizing actions that align with your deepest values and your desired future self. Now, this feels very personal. Bezos used it for a huge career choice. How does it translate and work for more complex business or even scientific decisions? Is it applicable there?
While it certainly originates from a deeply personal, life-altering decision, its underlying principle applies surprisingly universally across complex domains. For business or scientific decisions, it helps cut through the immediate anxieties, the short-term pressures, or the pervasive fear of failure that often lead to overly conservative or suboptimal choices.
How so?
It forces you to align your choices with your core values and the long-term vision for the enterprise or the research path. Crucially, it compels you to consider the often invisible opportunity cost of inaction, especially when the path forward is unclear or potentially revolutionary, but risky.
The cost of not doing something.
Exactly. In a business context, it might be asking, in 10 years, will we deeply regret not pursuing this innovative, potentially disruptive technology, even though it's risky and unproven right now? It prioritizes bold, value-aligned action over cautious inaction, particularly when faced with significant uncertainty or paradigm-shifting potential. It's fundamentally about building a future, whether personal or organizational, that you won't look back on with regret.
That's a powerful long-term lens indeed, thinking about your future self's perspective. Our next decision-making tool is the weighted decision matrix.
Getting more quantitative now.
A bit, yes. The concept involves scoring various choices or options against a predefined set of criteria, each of which is assigned a specific importance or weight. The application is to compare complex options more objectively, reducing subjective bias and providing a clear, documented rationale for the final choice. Is this just for big, formal, spreadsheet-level decisions, or can it be applied more broadly in everyday life?
While it's certainly invaluable for large-scale, multi-stakeholder decisions that demand transparency and justification, the underlying principles of the weighted decision matrix can be scaled down and applied, even informally, to almost any complex choice you face. From choosing a new vendor, to selecting a job offer, to even deciding on a major purchase like a car or a house.
How does it help mentally?
It formalizes your decision-making process, significantly reducing emotional bias and making the rationale behind your choice transparent and defensible, even just to yourself. It forces you to explicitly articulate your criteria, what truly matters in this decision, assign them relative importance, the weights, what matters most, and then objectively evaluate each option against those specific criteria. This leads to a more robust, justifiable decision, as the entire process and reasoning are clear and auditable. It moves you beyond just gut feeling to reasoned, structured judgment.
That provides a very clear audit trail for your thinking, which is invaluable, especially if you need to explain the decision later. Okay, let's shift gears now to strategic abstraction tools. These are about seeing the bigger picture and understanding the underlying structures and dynamics at play. First, systems thinking.
Seeing the whole, not just the parts.
Exactly, the core concept. Rather than viewing problems or elements in isolation, you consider how all parts interrelate, influence each other, and function dynamically within a larger, interconnected whole. The application. Avoid simplistic linear fixes, and instead focus on understanding dynamic feedback loops, emergent properties, and the profound interconnectedness of elements. What exactly does it mean, practically, to avoid linear fixes? Can you give an example?
A linear fix addresses a symptom or a problem in isolation, assuming a simple, direct cause and effect relationship, much like patching a single leak in a leaky boat without realizing the entire hull is rotting.
Okay.
But in any complex system, whether it's an organization, an ecosystem, a market, or even the human body, this often leads to unintended, counterintuitive consequences down the line. Why?
Yeah.
Because you're not accounting for how changes in one part ripple through the entire system, triggering feedback loops you didn't anticipate.
Like introducing a species to control a pest, and it ends up destroying the native wildlife.
That's a classic ecological example. Systems thinking compels you to understand those interconnections, how A affects B and B affects C, but then C might loop back and influence A again, perhaps in unexpected ways. It emphasizes emergent properties, the behaviors or characteristics that arise from the interaction of the parts, which cannot be predicted simply by looking at the parts themselves in isolation. It's about understanding the entire orchestra, the interplay, not just focusing on a single out-of-tune violin. This holistic view is absolutely vital for designing sustainable, effective solutions that don't inadvertently create new, sometimes worse problems elsewhere in the system.
That's a crucial shift from reductionist thinking, breaking things down, to a more holistic, integrated view. Very powerful. And finally, for this section, red teaming.
Institutionalized skepticism.
Right, the concept. You deliberately assign someone, or even a dedicated team, the red team, to argue the opposing case, to find every conceivable flaw, to challenge every single assumption in your plan, strategy, or idea. The application. It's a proactive strategy to strengthen decisions by rigorously exposing weaknesses before they manifest in the real world.
Oh.
So it's like having a devil's advocate, but in a much more formalized and structured way. Is that the main difference?
It's precisely that, but with institutionalized rigor and purpose. A casual devil's advocate might just poke holes here and there. Red teaming proactively stress tests your ideas, strategies, or plans by having a dedicated group or individual whose sole mission is to identify every possible flaw, vulnerability, hidden assumption, or potential failure point. They are explicitly tasked, even incentivized, to try and break the plan.
Their job is to find the problems.
Exactly. This ensures that decisions are robust, resilient, and thoroughly vetted by identifying weaknesses before implementation, rather than learning about them through costly real-world failures. It fosters a powerful culture of constructive criticism, intellectual honesty, and due diligence. It actively prevents groupthink by forcing diverse perspectives and challenges, forcing a rigorous examination of every underlying assumption. It's essentially about engineering resilience into your strategy by simulating adversarial scenarios or critical scrutiny up front.
Wow. Okay. You've journeyed with us from the essential basics of clear thinking, like understanding maps aren't territory, all the way to these advanced strategies for managing biases and making incredibly robust decisions using tools like premortems and red teaming. We've seen how these tools can profoundly upgrade your cognitive operating system, but what if we told you there are even more profound tools out there? Tools employed by minds that have truly reshaped our world. The genius-level thinkers, the polymaths, the Einsteins and Da Vinci's of history.
That's right. We're now stepping up to what you might call the apex tools. These transcend mere logic and decision-making as we usually think of them. They fundamentally reshape perception itself. They enable truly original synthesis of ideas, and they drive systemic transformative innovation.
Okay, reshaping perception.
Yes. These are the practices observed, often implicitly, in the work of polymaths, visionary thinkers, and those rare individuals we often label, perhaps inadequately, as genius-level minds. They offer a rare glimpse into how truly exceptional insight is generated, how entirely new paradigms are conceived and brought into being.
And what's genuinely fascinating here, what I find incredibly exciting about this section, is that these aren't just innate abilities that you're either born with or not, some kind of mystical gift. They are profound practices, cognitive disciplines, and habitual ways of engaging with reality that can, with consistent effort and intention, be cultivated and integrated into your own thinking. We're talking about trying to understand the actual thought processes of people like Einstein, Gödel, Da Vinci, Tesla, Buckminster Fuller. It's truly an exhilarating prospect to delve into how they actually thought.
Let's begin with the first category, metacognition and self-reflective intelligence, which is essentially the art and science of thinking about your own thinking. The first tool here is recursive abstraction.
Recursive abstraction. Okay.
The concept. The ability to continuously zoom in and out, moving seamlessly, fluidly, from minute specific details to grand overarching universals and back again. This was a hallmark of minds like Gödel, Einstein, and certainly Da Vinci in his notebooks. The practical cultivation involves constantly asking yourself, what is the absolute essence of this particular detail I'm looking at? And then immediately following with what is the larger frame, the overarching principle or pattern of which this essence is a part. And repeating that process, looping back and forth.
So it's not just seeing a single leaf on a tree, but then instantly seeing the branch, the whole tree it belongs to, then the forest, the ecosystem, the climate zone, the planet, all almost simultaneously in a fluid, interconnected way, like layers of understanding.
Precisely that kind of dynamic layering and zooming. This allows for a profound understanding of complex hierarchies and interdependencies, moving effortlessly between specific observations and overarching principles. It enables a holistic understanding of how micro details fit into macro patterns, and critically, how those macro patterns shape the micro details. It reveals deeper structures, hidden causal relationships, and emergent properties that might be completely invisible if you stay stuck at just one level of analysis. It's like having a dynamic, multi-resolution lens for your mind, allowing you to perceive coherence across vastly different scales.
That sounds incredibly powerful. Our next tool in this metacognition section is cognitive stack layering.
Stacking frameworks.
Exactly, the core concept. The ability to consciously stack multiple, often disparate cognitive frameworks drawn from fields like mathematics, physics, language, art, emotion, maybe economics, and then cross-query them, allowing insights from one framework to illuminate or challenge another. The practice could involve something like trying to solve a physics problem, using a poetic metaphor to gain intuition, or analyzing a complex piece of music structurally as if it were a mathematical equation or a biological system.
This highlights the immense, almost magical power of truly deep interdisciplinary thinking. It's about deliberately seeing a problem through entirely different, often orthogonal lenses. When you can consciously apply insights from, say, cellular biology to understand a sociological problem, or analyze an economic trend through the lens of fundamental psychological biases, you suddenly find unexpected connections and generate far more comprehensive, original, and resilient solutions.
It breaks down the walls between subjects.
It completely breaks down those artificial disciplinary boundaries in your mind and allows for a rich cross-pollination of ideas, concepts, and metaphors to generate entirely new forms of understanding. It's often at the intersection of these different stacks that truly novel solutions emerge.
Then there's dual processing switching, the concept. The rare and highly effective ability to rapidly and consciously alternate between focused, logical, analytical reasoning, what Kahneman called System 2 thinking, and diffuse, intuitive, associative ideation, the faster, more automatic System 1 thinking. The practice involves training yourself to achieve a deep flow state for creative leaps and pattern recognition, then consciously toggling to rigorous critical scrutiny and logical validation of those leaps.
This tool reflects the dynamic balance, the dance really, between intuitive leaps and rigorous analysis that great thinkers fluidly employ. System 1 is fast, intuitive, subconscious, pattern matching, associative. It's often the wellspring of creative ideas, sudden insights, or recognizing familiar patterns quickly. System 2 is slow, deliberate, conscious, logical, effortful, essential for critical evaluation, complex problem solving, and error checking.
So it's not about choosing one.
Not at all. The genius lies not in choosing one over the other, but in being able to switch seamlessly and appropriately between these modes, allowing intuition to spark new possibilities, then rigorously testing, refining, and validating them with disciplined critical thought. It's leveraging the best of both worlds, enabling both breakthrough innovation and the rigorous validation needed to ensure those breakthroughs are sound.
Moving on to our second category of these advanced tools, 2, temporal and dimensional thought structuring. This really takes things up a notch, allowing for a whole new level of mental organization and perspective. Our first tool here is fractal thinking.
Seeing patterns across scales.
Exactly, the concept. The capacity to perceive and recognize the same underlying pattern, process, or principle repeating itself at multiple different scales, micro, meso, and macro. Self-similarity. The practice involves identifying the same idea or dynamic in something as small as a single cell's behavior, as complex as a bustling city's growth, and as vast and abstract as the evolution of an entire civilization.
This allows you to recognize deep, repeating structures and fundamental underlying principles across vastly different scales of complexity. If you understand the dynamics of growth, adaptation, feedback, and decay in a single organism, fractal thinking allows you to see strikingly similar patterns in the rise and fall of empires, the evolution of technologies, the structure of river deltas, or even the spread of ideas through social networks.
Wow, so it's like a universal grammar.
In a sense, yes. It aids immensely in predicting behavior within complex systems and understanding how highly complex emergent phenomena arise from simpler, self-similar interactions repeating at different levels. It's seeing the universal grammar, the recurring motifs, behind seemingly disparate events and structures.
Next, time reversal analysis. The concept. Instead of analyzing events in chronological order, forward through time, you deliberately imagine them backward, starting from a desired outcome or a known endpoint, and then tracing the necessary preceding conditions, decision points, and causal loops in reverse. This is famously used in physics, in narrative design to create compelling plots with foreshadowing, and by chess grandmasters planning their moves several steps ahead by visualizing the end game first.
Working backward, or thinking from the desired outcome to the necessary preceding conditions, can reveal dependencies, hidden drivers, and intricate causal loops that are incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible, to perceive when thinking solely chronologically forward. In complex systems, causality isn't always a simple linear chain. Effects can loop back and influence their causes in subtle ways.
Finding the non-obvious paths.
Precisely. Time reversal analysis helps uncover those intricate, non-obvious feedback mechanisms and critical preconditions, making it particularly useful for strategic planning. Where do we want to be and what must be true to get there? Solving complex engineering problems, what caused this failure mode, or unraveling complicated historical events. It's like seeing the intricate clockwork mechanism by imagining the hands moving backward to see how each gear engaged.
And then we have multi-vector mapping, the concept. The ability to simultaneously use multiple orthogonal, meaning independent, non-overlapping perspectives or vectors to analyze a single problem. For example, layering an emotional analysis with hard data analysis alongside energy flow dynamics, underlying intent, power structures, and maybe historical context. The practice involves actively constructing multi-axis mental maps to represent these different dimensions simultaneously.
This is about gaining a truly holistic, multi-dimensional understanding of a situation or problem. Instead of analyzing it through just one or two familiar lenses, like just economics or just politics, you consciously layer different qualitative and quantitative dimensions onto it, almost like different transparent overlays on a single map, each revealing a different aspect of the terrain.
Can you give an example?
Sure. For analyzing a social conflict, you might map the factual data, who did what when, but also overlay the emotional undercurrents, fear, anger, trust, the energy dynamics between the parties, who is gaining or losing influence, the perceived underlying intent of each participant, what do they really want, and the relevant power structures or historical precedents at play. This richer, multidimensional view often reveals solutions, leverage points, or hidden dynamics that a single perspective or linear analysis would completely miss, leading to more comprehensive and effective understanding or interventions.
Now on to 3, high-level pattern recognition and symbolic thinking. This is where complex ideas truly condense and gain power. First, mythic symbolic compression.
Distilling wisdom into symbols. Yes, the concept. The extraordinary ability to distill highly abstract ideas, complex narratives, intricate processes, or universal truths into powerful, memorable archetypes, symbols, condensed myths, or even elegant equations. The practice involves consciously encoding coherence, transformation, or a core principle into a simple visual glyph, a short, compelling narrative, or an instantly recognizable symbol that resonates deeply. This tool enables incredibly powerful communication and memorability, often bypassing the purely rational mind to appeal directly to deeper layers of understanding and intuition. Complex scientific theories like EMCA, profound philosophical insights, or universal human experiences can be made universally understandable and emotionally resonant when distilled into a potent symbol like the yin-yang, or a timeless narrative or archetype like the hero's journey.
It makes big ideas portable and sticky.
Exactly. It allows for the transmission of profound, complex insight in a highly compressed, elegant, and impactful form, making it sticky and unforgettable, allowing it to travel across time and cultures.
That's how truly complex ideas become ingrained in our minds and cultures. Next, transcontextual bridging. The concept. The rare and powerful ability to link concepts, principles, or patterns across vastly different, seemingly unrelated fields of knowledge. People like Nikola Tesla bridging electricity and mechanics, Buckminster Fuller linking geometry and social systems, or Douglas Hofstadter connecting mathematics, music, and consciousness were masters of this.
This is the ability to see deep analogies and isomorphisms, those fundamental structural similarities or analogous patterns where most others see only disparate, unconnected fields. It's about recognizing, for instance, that a principle governing fluid dynamics might also shed profound light on traffic flow patterns, or that concepts from biological evolution might offer powerful insights into the development of technological systems, market dynamics, or even the structure of language itself.
Finding the hidden connections.
Yes. This conscious cross-pollination of ideas, models, and metaphors is an incredibly fertile ground for breakthrough innovations, as it allows insights and tools from one domain to illuminate previously intractable problems in another, leading to solutions that would be utterly impossible through conventional siloed thinking. It's seeing the hidden unity in the apparent diversity of knowledge.
And then related, perhaps, self-similarity inversion, the concept. The radical ability to flip perspectives within nested systems, challenging fundamental assumptions about scale and structure by reversing the comparison. For example, asking, what if atoms are structured like miniature galaxies? Or conversely, what if galaxies behave according to principles we see in atomic structures? Or what if a complex thought process unfolds fractally like a coastline? The practice involves running thought experiments across scale and dimensional symmetry, inverting the usual direction of analogy.
This tool encourages truly radical shifts in perspective and forces you to question fundamental assumptions about scale, hierarchy, and structure that we often take completely for granted. By consciously inverting the typical viewpoint considering the microcosm as if it were the macrocosm, or vice versa, or seeing processes inside structures, you can uncover hidden relationships, identify unexpected insights, or challenge deeply entrenched notions about how things are organized or how causality functions across different levels.
So it's a way to break ingrained thinking patterns about scale.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It can lead to profound new hypotheses, particularly in fields like physics or cosmology where scale is fundamental, but also in understanding complex social systems, biological processes, or even exploring personal identity within larger cultural or historical structures. It's a mind-bending, perspective-shifting way to see the world anew by playing with the very notion of scale and similarity.
Finally, we arrive at the fourth category. 4. Meta-epistemology and ontological framing. This is truly at the apex of deep thought, questioning the very nature of knowledge, reality, and how we categorize problems themselves. The first tool, ontological reframe.
Questioning the whatness of the problem.
Exactly. The concept. The profound ability to question and fundamentally redefine the very nature, category, or even the existence of a problem itself. The practice involves asking probing questions like, what if this isn't merely a physics problem, but fundamentally an information problem or an emergence problem? Or is this actually a technical challenge we're facing, or is it fundamentally a human coordination challenge masquerading as a technical one?
This tool is about fundamentally redefining the problem itself, which can, startlingly, unlock entirely new solution spaces that were previously completely invisible because you were stuck in the wrong frame. We often categorize problems based on existing, familiar frameworks or academic disciplines, but sometimes the problem genuinely defies those neat categories, or a new categorization reveals more fundamental underlying truth or a different, more fruitful level of analysis.
So changing the definition changes the potential solutions.
Completely. By questioning the very being or nature, the ontology of the problem, you transcend entrenched categorizations and open up innovative, often highly counterintuitive avenues for understanding and ultimate resolution. It's about stepping outside the established conceptual box to fundamentally redefine the box itself, or realizing it wasn't the right box to begin with.
Then, paradox resolution looping. The concept. The advanced ability to hold seemingly contradictory or paradoxical ideas in conscious awareness, not as errors to be eliminated or smoothed over, but as a source of generative tension. You maintain this tension, actively exploring both sides, until they resolve into a higher-order novel synthesis that somehow encompasses and transcends the initial dichotomy. The practice. Actively use contradiction as generative fuel for new insights, rather than shying away from it as simply an error to be corrected or ignored.
Most people instinctively shy away from contradiction or paradox. It feels uncomfortable, like a sign of flawed reasoning or a mistake that needs fixing. But truly great thinkers often embrace it. They can hold seemingly opposing or mutually exclusive ideas, like light being both a wave and a particle, in active tension in their minds, allowing that cognitive dissonance, that creative friction, to generate new insights and higher-order understandings that ultimately transcend the initial dichotomy.
So not either, but both hand.
Or something entirely new emerges from the tension between them. It's about avoiding getting stuck in rigid either-or thinking, and instead finding a deeper truth or a more comprehensive framework that encompasses both sides or reveals a question itself was flawed. This often leads to creative breakthroughs that wouldn't be possible by simply choosing one side over the other or compromising weakly in the middle. It's seeing the dynamic dance between opposing forces rather than just the static conflict.
And our final, perhaps most profound tool in this truly advanced arsenal, coherence intelligence, the concept. The profound capacity to perceive and map how all parts of a complex system, regardless of their apparent diversity or separation, unify and interrelate through subtle coherence gradients or underlying principles of resonance and interconnectedness. The practice involves striving to see intelligence, creativity, consciousness, and even the fundamental nature of matter as different degrees or expressions of underlying resonance, symmetry, harmony, and interconnectedness.
This represents the pursuit of fundamental unifying principles across disparate phenomena, almost akin to a physicist's search for a grand unified theory, but applied more broadly. It's about perceiving deeper patterns of interconnectedness, understanding how different elements of reality are not truly isolated, but rather resonate, cohere, and interact in various complex ways, forming a greater interdependent whole.
Like seeing the hidden music.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Imagine a complex piece of orchestral music. It's not just the sum of individual notes or instruments, but the harmony, the rhythm, the counterpoint, the overall structure that binds them into a single coherent, emergent whole that evokes emotion and meaning. Coherence intelligence seeks that unifying melody or underlying resonance across everything from how our brains generate cohesive thought to how entire ecosystems maintain balance, perhaps even to the very fabric of the cosmos itself. It speaks to a profound level of holistic perception and a deep search for ultimate, elegant simplicity hidden within staggering complexity.
These advanced tools sound truly incredible, almost superhuman in their scope and potential impact. But here's the truly exciting and empowering part for everyone listening. You absolutely don't need to be a recognized genius or a lifelong polymath to start integrating elements of clear thinking into your daily life. Our source material gives us a profoundly practical framework, a daily genius activation stack, a series of simple yet potent rituals and practices you can implement into your routine right away to cultivate these very cognitive abilities we've been exploring.
Absolutely. And this stack isn't just a random list of tips. It's a carefully curated synthesis of effective cognitive rituals, physiological resets designed to optimize brain function, and neurochemical coherence boosters. It's far more than just generic advice. It's a robust framework for intentionally designing your day to cultivate and optimize for clear thinking, deep work, and sustained mental performance.
So it's about creating the right conditions.
Exactly. These are intentional practices that cultivate the optimal internal and external environment for high-level thought to consistently emerge, rather than just hoping it happens randomly.
So, what does this all mean for you listening right now and your daily routine? Let's dive into how you can start activating your inner genius, or at least thinking much more clearly every single day, starting with I, cognitive priming and clarity.
First, there's the 90-minute rule. This is about structuring your periods of deep focus work into roughly 90-minute ultradian cycles, followed by a short break for optimal focus and energy management.
Ultradian cycles, like sleep cycles, but when we're awake.
Pretty much, yeah. The science shows our brains and bodies naturally operate in these rhythms of peak activity, followed by troughs needing recovery, even during the day. Trying to force intense focus for much longer periods, like hours on end without a real break, is usually counterproductive. It leads to diminishing returns, fatigue, and more errors. These concentrated focus sprints, followed by brief recovery, are far more effective and sustainable than prolonged, unstructured, often distracted work marathons. It's about working with your brain's natural energy cycles, not constantly fighting against them.
Then, the one problem journal. The powerful idea here is to dedicate just a few minutes each morning to consciously focus on and articulate a single major question or challenge you want to make progress on for the day. This subtly engages your unconscious problem-solving processes.
Exactly. This simple act primes your subconscious mind to work on that specific problem in the background, even when you're not actively consciously thinking about it.
Yeah.
By clearly articulating a single high-leverage challenge, you direct your cognitive resources more efficiently. This allows solutions, insights, or potential breakthroughs to bubble up from unexpected places, perhaps during a walk, a shower, or even just before sleep. It's like planting a seed in your mind and letting it germinate throughout the day's experiences.
Next, the teach-back trick. This is the simple yet highly effective practice of attempting to teach a newly learned concept or idea to someone else. Even if it's just explaining it out loud to an imaginary audience, your pet, or the classic rubber duck on your desk. This process, it's argued, helps reinforce your own understanding and, crucially, immediately reveals any gaps or fuzzy areas you might still have.
Absolutely. The act of articulating something clearly, simply, and coherently enough for another person, real or imagined, to understand, forces you to clarify your own thoughts, consolidate the information, and organize it logically. If you stumble, get confused, or can't explain it smoothly, that's immediate feedback. You probably don't truly understand it at a deep enough level yet. It's an immediate, powerful diagnostic tool for identifying where your knowledge is solid and where it needs reinforcing, turning passive learning into active, verifiable mastery.
We also have the curiosity burst. This involves dedicating a short, intense period, say just 10 to 20 minutes, to dive into and explore an entirely unfamiliar topic, purely out of curiosity, as a way to refresh and stimulate your mental circuits.
Novelty is a remarkably powerful stimulant for the brain. Engaging with something completely new, even for a short, unstructured period, prevents mental stagnation, it breaks up routine thinking patterns, and it can spark unexpected connections and cross-disciplinary insights that fuel creativity later on. Think of it as a mental palate cleanser that keeps your brain agile, flexible, and receptive to new ideas and perspectives.
And a dedicated, more expansive version of that, the curiosity hour. This is about setting aside a committed block of time, maybe weekly, specifically for open-ended inquiry or undirected exploration, simply following whatever genuinely piques your interest without a specific goal.
Right. Unlike structured learning towards a specific goal or focused problem solving, this is about allowing for serendipitous discovery and mental wandering. It's where you follow your interests down rabbit holes without a predetermined outcome, allowing your mind to make novel associations and connections freely. It's often during this kind of undirected mental playtime, this exploration for its own sake, that many truly original thoughts and creative breakthroughs unexpectedly emerge. It fosters intellectual promiscuity in the best possible sense, connecting diverse ideas.
Finally, for this cognitive priming section, ensuring a daily win. The practice here is to make sure you consciously acknowledge and achieve at least one meaningful accomplishment, however small it might seem, every single day.
This isn't just about ticking boxes on a productivity list. It builds crucial psychological momentum and significantly boosts confidence. Even seemingly small, meaningful accomplishments signal to your brain that you are competent, effective, and making progress. This reinforces positive neural pathways and releases dopamine, which in turn motivates you for further deep work and sustained clear thinking. It prevents that draining feeling of being stuck or constantly overwhelmed by a mountain of tasks, providing consistent microdoses of success and perceived efficacy.
Moving on to 2, physiological reset and somatic intelligence. Because as we know, our bodies and minds are so profoundly and inextricably connected, you can't separate them. First, the morning walk. The simple act of gentle, rhythmic forward motion, ideally in nature or at least outside, early in the day helps activate and balance your brain hemispheres.
Light, rhythmic exercise, combined with exposure to natural environments, has profound, well-documented benefits for cognitive function, mood regulation, and stress reduction. The bilateral stimulation from the simple rhythmic motion of walking can also help organize thoughts, improve focus, enhance creativity, and prepare your mind and body for the day's cognitive challenges. It's a powerful, accessible form of moving meditation that sets a positive physiological tone.
Then light movement throughout the day. This refers to short, gentle mobility breaks, stretching, walking around the office, a few squats woven into your day to stimulate circulation without inducing cortisol spikes or significant fatigue.
Breaking up prolonged sedentary periods is absolutely crucial for sustained alertness and mental focus. Our bodies weren't designed to sit still for 8 hours straight. Even just a few minutes of stretching, walking around, or gentle movement every hour or so can significantly increase blood flow to the brain, delivering vital oxygen and nutrients and helping to clear metabolic byproducts that contribute to mental fatigue and that feeling of brain fog. It's like hitting a quick physical refresh button for your cognitive engine, helping keep your energy levels steady and preventing cognitive decline over the course of the day.
A more intense, almost shock-based reset we see mentioned, the cold shower. A brief burst of cold water exposure that aims to reset your autonomic nervous system balance and significantly boost alertness and resilience.
The physiological response to acute cold exposure, like a cold shower or plunge, activates the sympathetic nervous system, leading to a surge in neurotransmitters like noradrenaline. This increases alertness, sharpens focus, can improve mood, and builds resilience to stress over time. It's a quick, powerful, albeit uncomfortable way to break through mental sluggishness, cultivate mental toughness by voluntarily facing discomfort, and improve your overall physiological and psychological resilience. It jolts you firmly into the present moment and sharpens your senses very effectively.
And for a deeper physical challenge that feeds directly into mental strength, the Iron Mindset workout. This is about engaging in an intentional physical exertion, lifting weights, intense cardio, martial arts, not just for physical fitness, but viewing it as a deliberate form of willpower training and mental toughening.
This explicitly connects physical discipline directly to mental toughness and cognitive control. Pushing through physical discomfort, setting and achieving challenging physical goals, and engaging in demanding exercise builds a profound kind of resilience, grit, and self-efficacy that translates directly to your ability to focus intensely, persevere through difficult cognitive tasks, delay gratification, and maintain clear thinking even when under pressure or fatigued. It's a powerful, positive feedback loop. A strong, disciplined body supports a strong, clear, disciplined mind.
Next, 3, emotional and nervous system regulation. Because our emotional states, as we all know, profoundly impact our ability to think clearly, rationally, and objectively. Starting with the well-known practice of meditation. This practice is known to increase neural coherence, reduce distracting mental noise, and significantly enhance metacognition, that crucial ability to observe and understand your own thinking processes.
Mindfulness and various forms of meditation practices have been extensively shown through rigorous neuroscience to improve sustained attention, enhance emotional regulation capacities, and deepen self-awareness. By systematically training your mind to reduce mental clutter, decrease reactivity to thoughts and emotions, and cultivate present-moment awareness, meditation creates a calmer, more stable, more coherent internal environment. This state is highly conducive to deep, focused, and unbiased thought. It's like clearing the static on your mental radio, allowing the signal to come through more clearly.
Then, gratitude journaling. The simple but powerful practice of regularly noting down specific things you are genuinely grateful for. This helps to intentionally entrain positive emotional valence and strengthen overall emotional stability.
Regularly focusing your attention on what you're grateful for, big or small, actively shifts your brain's perspective towards positive emotions. It counteracts the brain's natural negativity bias, reduces the physiological impact of stress, and cultivates a more optimistic and emotionally stable baseline state. This consistent emotional stability is a powerful, often dramatically overlooked, foundation for clear, objective, and unbiased thinking. It prevents negative emotional states like anxiety, anger, or frustration from hijacking your attention and clouding your judgment. It literally helps rewire your brain for optimism and resilience over time.
The mental load dump. This is a very simple but incredibly effective practice. Regularly offloading any mental clutter, worries, nagging to-dos, random ideas, anxieties from your mind onto an external medium like paper or a digital note. This helps you regain clarity and frees up precious cognitive resources.
Our working memory, the brain's RAM, has a notoriously limited capacity. Trying to hold too many thoughts, worries, reminders, or pending tasks active in your head simultaneously creates significant cognitive burden. It leads to mental fatigue, fragmented focus, and reduced processing power for the task actually at hand. Externalizing all that mental clutter onto paper or a trusted digital system physically frees up that limited mental bandwidth, allowing for greater clarity, improved focus, and more available processing power for thinking, problem-solving, or creativity. It's like defragmenting your mental hard drive, clearing out the background processes.
And for your mornings, a powerful practice suggested is silent mornings. This involves deliberately delaying external input, especially digital input from screens, news feeds, and emails, for the first part of your day to preserve your precious inner space and intentionally establish your own agenda before the world intrudes.
Protecting the mind's initial fresh state in the morning from immediate external distractions and information overload is vital for setting a proactive, focused tone for the entire day. Starting your day with internal reflection, intentional planning, quiet contemplation, or focused deep work rather than immediate reactive engagement with emails, social media, or the news cycle allows your brain to organize itself, set clear intentions, and prioritize without being immediately hijacked by external demands or other people's urgent but not important agendas. It cultivates an internal locus of control for your most valuable resource, your attention.
Finally, IV, environmental and neurochemical synchronization. How your physical surroundings and your internal brain chemistry profoundly affect your ability to think clearly and perform optimally. Starting with a digital fast. This can be a partial or even a full screen detox for a set period to help recalibrate your dopamine balance and frayed attention systems.
Constant digital stimulation, with its endless novelty, unpredictable rewards, and instant gratification loops, can significantly impact our attention spans, dysregulate our dopamine reward pathways, making normal life feel dull, and reduce our overall cognitive endurance for deep focus. Periodic breaks from screens, whether it's for a few hours each day, one day a week, or even longer stretches occasionally, allow your dopamine system to reset and recalibrate. This can improve your ability to focus on less immediately stimulating, but more important, deeper and more complex tasks, enhancing concentration and reducing impulsivity. It's like a necessary reset for your overloaded attention muscle, helping you reclaim sustained focus.
Sunlight exposure. This fundamental, almost primal practice helps regulate your body's natural circadian rhythm and boost crucial neurochemicals like serotonin, linked to mood, and vitamin D, vital for overall health.
Direct, natural sunlight exposure, particularly in the morning hours, is absolutely fundamental for anchoring and regulating your circadian rhythm, your internal 24-hour body clock. This, in turn, profoundly influences almost everything: your sleep-wake cycle, hormone release, energy levels, mood, and metabolism. All of these are vital, non-negotiable foundations for maintaining optimal cognitive function, sustained energy, emotional stability, and clear thinking throughout the day. Getting that morning light is like setting your internal clock correctly. It's our primal energy source and regulator.
Crucially, sleep defense. The practice of intentionally and fiercely prioritizing sufficient, high-quality sleep, viewing it not as a luxury, but as a foundational pillar of intelligence, learning, and overall cognitive performance.
Sleep is not merely passive rest. It is a non-negotiable period of active cognitive restoration, optimization, and cleanup for the brain. It is absolutely crucial for memory consolidation, transferring learning to long-term storage, creative problem solving, the brain makes novel connections, emotional regulation, processing the day's stresses, and clearing out metabolic waste products that build up during wakefulness. Protecting your sleep, treating it as a sacred and essential component of your daily routine, is literally defending your ability to think clearly, learn effectively, regulate your emotions, and perform at your peak the next day. No amount of clever mental tools or caffeine can compensate for chronic sleep deprivation in the long run.
Napping. Strategic napping can be a way to phase shift mental energy and even enhance pattern recognition and creative insight during the day.
Strategic short naps, often called power naps, typically lasting 10-20 minutes and usually taken in the early afternoon, can be incredibly beneficial for cognitive restoration and providing a mental refresh. They can significantly improve alertness, reduce fatigue, enhance performance on certain cognitive tasks, and even foster new insights and creative problem solving by allowing the brain to enter more diffuse thinking states and consolidate recent learning. It's like a mini reboot for your brain midday, helping you reset your focus and integrate information more effectively.
Social interaction. This involves actively engaging in meaningful social connections and conversations, which stimulates verbal fluency, triggers oxytocin release, the bonding hormone, and facilitates powerful idea cross-pollination and refinement.
Intelligence isn't just an individual, isolated pursuit. It's profoundly social and interactive. Engaging in meaningful, stimulating conversations, collaborative brainstorming sessions, constructive debates, or simply deep discussions with others can sharpen your own ideas through articulation, expose you to entirely new perspectives you hadn't considered, challenge your hidden assumptions, and foster novel insights through the collaborative exchange and synthesis of thoughts. Plus, the oxytocin release from positive social interaction reduces stress and actually enhances cognitive flexibility and trust.
And to tie it all together, a vision reminder. This is about having a tangible visual cue, maybe a physical object on your desk, an image on your wall, or even a simple phrase written down that serves as a constant anchor, helping you realign your daily actions with your deeper purpose or long-term vision.
Symbolic anchors like these are incredibly powerful for maintaining focus, motivation, and perspective amidst the chaos and distractions of daily life. A physical object you touch, a visual you see frequently, or a simple mantra you repeat can serve as a constant, tangible reminder of your long-term goals, your core values, and your ultimate why. It helps you cut through the immediate urgency of daily tasks and ensures that your immediate actions are consistently aligned with your larger, overarching vision, providing a reliable compass for your daily clear thinking and decision-making.
Wow, what an incredible journey we've been on today, seriously. We started by installing those foundational tools of clear thinking, things like the map is not the territory and first principles thinking. Then we built upwards to the expanded toolkit for sophisticated bias reduction and really robust decision-making.
Covering things like Bayesian updating and premortems.
Exactly. And then we ventured into the truly advanced, almost genius-level strategies for literally reshaping perception, uncovering hidden patterns, and driving radical innovation, exploring ideas like fractal thinking and ontological reframing.
Really stretching the mind there.
Definitely. And finally, we brought it all back down to earth with those incredibly practical, actionable daily habits in the daily genius activation stack, things anyone can start implementing to genuinely activate and sustain these cognitive abilities. We've seen pretty clearly, I think, that clear thinking isn't just some innate, fixed trait you're either born with or not. It is unequivocally a skill, a set of muscles you can deliberately cultivate, strengthen, and refine throughout your entire life. Our deepest hope, really, is that this deep dive has given you a compelling blueprint, a comprehensive guide to upgrading your own cognitive operating system. We genuinely encourage you, listening now, to pick just one or two tools from any of these sections that resonated with you, or perhaps just a few elements from that daily genius activation stack and intentionally try them out this week.
Just start somewhere.
Exactly. See what resonates, what feels intuitive, what maybe makes a tangible, measurable difference in your personal ability to think more clearly, solve problems more effectively, and make genuinely better decisions in your work and life. What stands out to you right now as something you can implement starting today, something that sparks your curiosity to explore just a little bit further?
And this whole journey, exploring these tools from the foundational to the truly profound, naturally raises an important, even provocative question for you to ponder long after this deep dive concludes. If our models and maps of reality are inherently incomplete, always evolving, never the final word, and if true genius or breakthrough insight ultimately lies in the profound ability to transcend existing frameworks and synthesize entirely new understandings, then how much of what we collectively accept as truth or the way things are today is simply the temporary consensus of limited or outdated mental models?
And perhaps more excitingly, what revolutionary new truths, what profound insights might you personally uncover by consistently applying and integrating these powerful tools into your own thinking, pushing the boundaries of what's currently known or accepted in your field, in your life? The potential for discovery within your own mind and the impact you might have as a result is truly fundamentally limitless.